The observation deck hummed with the quiet energy of 1,000 distant stars. Captain Marcus Webb stood before the reinforced viewport, watching the nebula beyond shift through colors that had no names in human languages. Beside him, the being, known as Lyra, maintained her carefully constructed form, humanoid, elegant, with features that suggested both familiarity and otherness. "You should leave," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that spoke of vast distances and ancient things. "The transformation cycle approaches. I have warned you what happens when my kind shed their masks." Marcus turned to face her fully. They had served together aboard the Wanderer for 3 years now, ever since the humans had made first contact with the species that called themselves the Eternal Choir. Lyra had been assigned as a cultural liaison, a bridge between her incomprehensible civilization and the curious mammals who had only just learned to fold space. "You have warned me," Marcus agreed. 17 times by my count. Each time I have given you the same answer. Her luminous eyes, currently a shade of violet that reminded him of Earth sunsets, studied him with something approaching concern. "My people do not make idle threats, Captain. When we say that no living thing survives witnessing our true forms, we speak from millennia of unfortunate evidence. There is a reason we wear these shapes when dealing with younger species. And yet you choose to remain here, on this ship, knowing the cycle is coming." Marcus crossed his arms, his posture relaxed despite the gravity of their conversation. "You could have requested transfer to one of your own vessels. You could have isolated yourself in the quantum chambers. Instead, you are here, telling me to run." Lyra turned away, her form rippling slightly at the edges. It was a tell Marcus had learned to recognize, a sign of emotional turbulence breaking through her control. "I have grown fond of this crew, of this mission, of the perspective your species brings to the cosmos. I do not wish to be the instrument of your destruction." "Then trust me when I say I am not leaving." The ship shuddered gently as it navigated through a pocket of compressed space-time. Somewhere in the depths of the Wanderer, the human crew went about their duties, unaware that their captain stood on the edge of a precipice that could reshape everything they understood about their alien allies. "You do not comprehend what you are asking," Lyra said, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. "My true form is not simply different or strange. It is anathema to biological perception. Your mind will not process it correctly. Your neural pathways will burn out attempting to make sense of information they were never designed to interpret. Death if you are fortunate, madness if you are not." Marcus moved to stand beside her at the viewport. Beyond the glass, a dying star pulsed its final rhythms into the void. "I have stood in the radiation shadow of a collapsing wormhole. I have breathed recycled air while the hull groaned under pressures that should have crushed us to atoms. I have made decisions that sent good people to die in the name of exploration and discovery. Do you know what I learned from all of that?" "What?" Lyra asked, despite herself. "That the universe does not care about our limitations. It does not adjust itself to make us comfortable. Every day we push into the unknown, we risk encountering something our minds cannot handle. Our bodies cannot survive, our spirits cannot endure. And yet we go anyway, because staying small and safe means staying ignorant." He looked at her directly, his gaze unwavering. "You are not a danger to be avoided, Lyra. You are a truth to be witnessed." Pretty words. Her form shimmered more violently now. "They will not protect your sanity when reality itself seems to tear around you. When geometry becomes suggestion and causality flows backward through your consciousness. When you perceive me as I actually am, beyond the comfortable lie of this shape." "Perhaps not," Marcus admitted, "but I have made my choice. I will not ask you to bear your burden alone, hidden and ashamed, simply because witnessing you carries risk. You have called me friend these 3 years. Let me prove that friendship means something." The ship's chronometer chimed softly, marking the hour. Lyra's form began to destabilize in earnest now, edges blurring and colors shifting through spectrums that human eyes struggled to track. "It begins," she said, and there was resignation in her voice. "Last chance, Marcus. Please. I do not want your death on my conscience. And we face this together." Marcus remained rooted to the spot, his hands steady at his sides. "Show me who you really are." "You fool," Lyra breathed, but there was something like gratitude mixed with her fear. "You beautiful, stubborn, impossible fool." The transformation accelerated. Her humanoid shape collapsed inward and expanded outward simultaneously, becoming something that hurt to observe directly. Marcus felt his eyes watering, his brain struggling to process sensory input that violated every assumption about how matter and energy should behave. He saw dimensions folding through spaces that should not exist, perceived colors that existed in ranges beyond infrared and ultraviolet, heard sounds that traveled through vacuum and time rather than air. Pain lanced through his skull as his visual cortex tried desperately to make sense of the data flooding through it. He tasted copper and realized his nose was bleeding. His hands trembled, and every instinct screamed at him to look away, to run, to preserve what remained of his rational mind. But beneath the pain and confusion, beneath the sensory overload and neural stress, Marcus caught glimpses of something else. Patterns in the chaos, purpose in the impossibility. Lyra was not random or malevolent in her true form. She was simply more. More dimensions, more complexity, more existence than three-dimensional space could properly contain. Like trying to perceive an entire ocean while only able to observe a single drop, his mind could only grasp fragments of the totality before him. And in those fragments, he saw beauty. Not the comfortable beauty of familiar things, but the terrible beauty of fundamental truth. The elegance of physics operating at scales beyond human comprehension. The grace of a being whose very existence challenged the boundaries of possible and impossible. "I see you," Marcus managed to speak through gritted teeth, blood dripping from his nose and ears now. His legs shook with the effort of remaining standing. "Not all of you. Not even most of you, probably, but I see enough." "I see you, Lyra." The transformation continued, reality bending around the space Lyra occupied. Marcus felt his consciousness stretching, threatening to snap like an over-tightened wire. Colors inverted and sounds became textures. Time seemed to loop and stutter. He knew, with crystalline certainty, that he was approaching the limits of what his human brain could endure. But he did not look away. Why? The word came from everywhere and nowhere, resonating through dimensions Marcus lacked names for. "Why do you persist when persistence brings only suffering?" "Because you matter," Marcus answered, his voice raw. "Because knowing you, really knowing you, is worth the price. Because friendship without truth is just comfortable pretense. Because I would rather die having seen you as you are than live having only known your mask." The pressure in his skull reached a crescendo. Marcus felt something fundamental beginning to crack in his mind. The biological machinery of perception pushed beyond all tolerances. His vision darkened at the edges, and he knew he had only moments before the damage became irreversible. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the transformation reversed. Lyra's humanoid form reassembled itself, flowing back into the familiar shape like water finding its level. She stood before him once more, violet eyes wide with shock, and caught him as his legs finally gave out. Together they sank to the deck, Marcus gasping for breath while blood continued to trickle from his nose and ears. "You survived," Lyra whispered, cradling his head gently. "By all the harmonies of the choir, you actually survived. Damaged, yes, but alive and sane. No one survives the witnessing. No one ever has." Marcus managed a weak smile through the pain. "First time for everything. That is what humans do best, isn't it?" breaking rules the universe thought were absolute. You could have died. You very nearly did die. But I did not. Marcus looked up at her, his eyes bloodshot but clear. And now I know you. Not just the diplomat or the liaison or the comfortable shape you wear for our benefit. I know the truth of you. That seems like a fair trade. Lyra held him as the ship continued its journey through the stars, her form stable now, the cycle complete. In the viewport beyond them, the nebula shifted through its eternal dance, beautiful and terrible and vast. And in that moment, two beings from impossibly different origins shared an understanding that transcended language, culture, or biology. Some truths are worth dying for. Some friendships demand the courage to see without flinching. And sometimes, the greatest gift one being can offer another is the simple willingness to witness them, truly and completely, whatever the cost. Marcus closed his eyes and smiled. Despite the pain, despite the damage, despite everything, it had been worth it.